Good morning, pre-K. I have sure missed you at school. I hope you are enjoying your time with your parents. If we had been at school, we would have been learning about plants and things plants need to grow. And we know that plants need soil and sunshine and rain and air to make them grow. But something else they need to make them grow is in this book. Can you see that? Can you see what that picture is? That's right, worms. Worms help plants grow, and in this story, it's going to tell us what they do to help them grow, and it's going to have lots of real fact information about worms. And the title of the book is Wiggling Worms at Work. The author is Wendy Pfeiffer. The illustrator is Steve Jenkins. Now, this book, somebody did draw the pictures, and we have talked about usually if somebody draws the pictures, it's a fake fiction story, but this story has real facts about worms in it, but somebody did draw the pictures. So this is a real fact nonfiction story. Wiggling Worms at Work. And as I read, you might hear some big words, and we're going to talk about those words. And also, I want you to listen and be able to tell me how, or tell your parents how worms help plants grow. And I want you to know two or three real facts about worms. And after we read the story, I want you to try to draw me a picture of a worm and then try to write some things you know about worms. Okay, let's read Wiggling Worms at Work. There's the title page, Wiggling Worms at Work. The illustrator can draw really good, can he? Down in the ground under your feet, thousands of worms wiggle around flower bulbs and tunnel under trees. They twist and turn, eating almost anything in their way. These wiggling worms are at work. Farmers plow their fields to loosen the soil. Crumbly soil lets the roots of the plants spread out and grow. Worms also loosen the soil as they wiggle along. They are called nature's plows. As worms twist and turn, they push aside loose soil. This creates tunnels. Air flows along these tunnels. Rainwater trickles down. The roots drink it up. Moist ground helps plants grow better. So, how do worms help the plants grow? Yes, they make those tunnels so the water can go down under the roots. Worms tunnel in hard packed soil by swallowing it. The soil goes in the worm's mouth, slides into its crop, then passes down to its gizzard. So I guess this is the mouth, the crop, and then the gizzard. Worms do not have teeth. Mussels, fine grains of sand, and small stones in the gizzard help grind the soil. Worms digest leaf and plant bits that are found in the soil, just as you digest a salad. Digest means you swallow and it goes through your body. What's left passes through a worm's body and comes out its tail end in the form of pellets called worm castings. These castings make good plant food. Oh, there's a big word, castings. Did you hear what castings are? Let me say it again. What's left of the plant bits passes through the worm's body and comes out its tail end in the form of pellets called castings. So can you tell what castings are by that sentence? Yes, worm poop. Ooh, worm poop is castings. Can you say that word, castings? I said these castings make good plant food. They help fruits and vegetables grow bigger and better. And look, there's what the castings look like. Just little balls of dirt. Can you see that good? Sometimes worms crawl above the ground. When they tunnel back down into the ground, they pull dead leaves and plants down with them. These plants make the soil better as they rot. Seeds come down too. Some of these seeds send out roots. Seedlings sprout, and worms help the new plants begin to grow. Worms can wiggle, twist, turn, and even tie themselves in knots because they have no backbone. Can you feel behind your back, right in the middle of your back, and you feel that bone? That's your backbone. Worms don't have that, so they can twist and turn all different ways and tie themselves in a knot. These their soft bodies are made of rings or segments. Can you see the rings on that worm's body? Segments. Each little ring is a segment. That means parts. The segments act like coils on a slinky toy and they let the worm bend. A worm has no legs, but it has 8 bristles under each little segment that act like little legs. They help a worm move. Strong muscles allow the worm to stretch out its front end. It becomes long and thin. Then the worm fastens the bristles to the soil. Then the back end slinks up, making the worm short and fat. Can you make your finger be like a worm? Like stretch it out, then grip with the front end and then pull it up. Stretch it out and pull it up. That's how a worm moves. The worm wiggles along, stretching and slinking with all its wiggling, twisting, and turning. It's a wonder a worm knows where it's headed. It has no eyes, no nose, no ears, and hardly any brain at all. But a worm knows what's happening nearby. It feels vibrations on the ground and senses a hungry robin. You see that robin? Quickly, the worm slips back into its burrow. Hiding is the only way it can protect itself from enemies. So those tunnels it makes under the ground are called what? Burrows, that's right. And we learned that about some other animals we've read about this year. Worms also hide from the sun. They must live in damp soil since they breathe through their moist skin. In the hot sun, their skin dries up and they can't breathe. So they have to stay moist or they'll die. Sometimes worms crawl to the surface to find food. They select dead and decaying plants to drag back into their burrows. These plants contain bacteria that worms eat. Healthy plants do not. Worms pick leaves with pointy ends rather than round ones. Nobody knows why. Worms also eat fungi and mold. They slurp the hair-like strands of mold the same way you might slurp strands of spaghetti. Oh, that doesn't sound good, does it? Oh, this said they crawl to the surface. Do you know what the surface is? That's the top of the ground. That's right. The surface of the ground is the top. Worms eat at the entrance of their burrows. Then each worm covers any leftover plants with its castings. Now, what were castings? Yes, it's poop. So it covers its leftover food with its own poop. This pile of worm castings is called a midden. It hides the top of the worm's burrow and acts like a door to keep out bad weather and rain. Well, that's a good idea, isn't it? In spring, before the weather warms, worms wiggle to the surface to find a mate. And what was the surface? Back up to the top of the ground. And what was a mate? We've heard that word before too. Yeah, it's their friend, like a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Worms are different from most other animals. Each worm is both a male and a female, but each one still has to have a mate. After mating, each worm crawls back into its burrow. That's right. When the weather cools, a ring-like cocoon forms near the head of each worm that has mated. Slowly, the worm begins to move backward. The cocoon inches forward to the worm's body just as the ring on your finger would move. See that white ring? The cocoon passes over the openings in the worm's body, and up to 30 eggs slip into the cocoon. In a few minutes, the cocoon slips off the worm's head just as the ring would slip off your finger. The ends of the cocoon close, and inside the cocoon, the eggs are fertilized. So worms lay eggs. How about that? In about 3 weeks, the eggs hatch, and out of about 30 eggs, only about 3 or 4 wormlets emerge from the cocoon. They look like tiny pieces of cotton thread less than an inch long, but they are fully developed worms and they live completely on their own. They do not need their parents' help. The wormlets inch along, finding bits of dead plants to eat, dragging them to their tunnels and covering any leftovers with their castings. They wiggle underground, loosening the soil and making tunnels. Even tiny wormlets help the soil. The babies grow fast. In 6 weeks, they are adult worms. In winter, the soil near the surface freezes. The worms plug up their tunnels and move down to warmer soil. They stay there until spring. Then they wiggle up, tunneling, twisting, and turning until they're right under your feet again. Vegetables and flowers grow better, trees grow bigger, grass grows greener because there are thousands of wiggling worms at work. And that's the end. So, how do the worms help the plants grow? Yeah, they tunnel under the ground, and those tunnels hold rainwater and air so the plants can breathe and get water. Okay. I would like you to draw me a poster like we do at school. Draw me a poster with worms on it, and then try to remember some facts you learned about worms from this story. One real good fact I remember is the word castings. Do you remember that word castings? Yeah, I bet you could draw a picture of a worm with its castings, right? And something else I remember. What can they have lots of sunlight? No, because sun dries them up. They can't get dried up. They have to stay moist to live. So maybe in this pretty weather, you could go out in your yard and dig some worms. Just yesterday, I went to try to find some worms, and I picked up rocks, like big rocks that were laying at the edge of the yard, and under those big heavy rocks, I saw lots of worms. So maybe you could go with your parents maybe and dig up some worms today in this pretty spring weather. I hope you enjoy the time with your parents, and I will see you soon, I hope. Have a great day.